Hello and welcome to a new video of Ride Review Video Magazine. In this video we will introduce Mandoria to you, which is a pretty new park in Poland. Therefore we took an interview with Leroy Koolwoods from the Netherlands, who is the art director of Mandoria.
Yes, well, I am Leroy Koolwoods. I'm from the Netherlands. I was basically hired by Daniel, who was the project director of Mandoria. And he's also Dutch, which is quite funny. We met each other in Amsterdam when there was an IAPA event, and we basically started talking about the project. He introduced me a bit to it. Later we got back in contact, and it was kind of looking like it would really kick off. And then it was kind of asked for me to just come over, check the site, see what the master plan is like, talk about it, and make a decision. So I flew over to Poland. I checked everything, we talked about the plans for the park, and I was like, let's do it. I think we can do it. We can pull it off. So in the first beginning it was supposed to be a project for a year, but of course it's quite impossible to do everything in a year. And then COVID really disturbed our planning, and luckily we managed to still pull it over the COVID period and open eventually. So my role from the beginning was to be the designer. And I had to build a team basically around me. In the beginning it was very much creative development, and then later it kind of like expanded more into production and construction. And now I'm still the designer and art director of the project, and we're just working with other designers now, and it's basically moving on to next phases.
So now you will learn a little bit of the story and the idea behind Mandoria.
From the very beginning we wanted to provide something to the Polish people that is not very common for them to experience. So what you see a lot in Poland is that they tend to really grab back to their own history a lot. So they really like the history of Poland when it comes to, for example, the medieval times, but also war is very important for them, and the history of the war. What we wanted to give them is a little bit more of a brighter, more decorated, new type of city. So that's also why we chose Mandoria to be a city, which is a little bit more optimistic than what they're used to. So we also chose for the Renaissance style, which is of course a time of great discovery, and we also tweaked it a bit so it's a bit more colorful, a bit more joyful. And our idea was also with the city you have a lot of freedom to develop around it, to develop the inner city, to develop characters. And we still have some ideas to basically expand the city that we started right now with the existing style into an even bigger space. So the city will actually grow organically as if it would be as it was like a real city. So yeah, this is kind of like a new approach to them, and it leans a little bit on history, but it's not trying to be too educational. So it's also fun.
Listen what future plans will await you and how the expansion will be going.
Yeah, well, you know, it's always difficult to hold on to a very long-term planning, but the idea for now is that we want to continue the cityscape when it comes more to architecture and all the attractions that could actually fit within a city center from a practical reason, because it's easier to develop that on this plot, because this is not really foresty or green yet. There's not really a lot of bodies of water, etc. So this needs a lot of development. And also from the other hand, we are thinking about developing the city and then the outskirts of the city, and also the further reaching areas around the city, basically like you would expect from the city. So it leans more into realism a bit. And besides that, we are of course talking with the board about what is the future of Mandoria. But to be honest, Poland is a very, very quick moving economy. It's changing very fast, so whatever we discussed yesterday is already different today, and some of the decision making is done within a week. So whatever we try to propose to them and consult, it can change in a week. So we have to kind of like take that into account. But I can definitely see that there is the intention to grow from a more family perspective, to also be different than, for example, the big parks like Energylandia and the parks that really go for a coaster approach. There is a wish for coasters, but we also try to make it pretty and nice, just a nice place to be. And I think you can see in the current project that that's the most important thing. People want to be here and they want to spend time with the family.
And here come the reasons why the park decided to build the very special custom coaster Mehrkosten.
Yeah, it has a couple of reasons. The main reason why we had a very, very tiny shortlist is because we are limited to the height of the ceiling. So what is a very important aspect of this project is that the hall was already there. This hall is built originally as an expo hall. It evolved later into a retail hall, and then of course the wish from the company was to do something else with it. And the one thing that you have then is you have a steel structure and you have a ceiling. That's the space you have to work in. So we were approaching a lot of suppliers and we were checking what is possible, and there was basically no other way than to do a custom. So we had to really try to figure it out. How does it fit in the hall? How can we still make it interesting? And the main supplier that was interesting for us to do that is Gestlauer, because they can work very compact, they can work quite fast, and I'm really happy with the coaster feeling. It's smooth, it's nice, it has a lot of like nice little turns, it's pretty tight when it comes to decoration. So it was basically a technical reason, and besides that also I think we wanted to grow gradually with the offer that we have. So now this coaster is quite small, and it's not boring, it's still fun, but it's definitely a family coaster, and we want to kind of grow with also our coasters. So we don't want to try to already beat the competition with whatever we're building. And for now in the hall, this is the best choice I think we had in the market.
If you need some idea of what will await you and for whom Mandoria is suited, there you go.
Well, it is what we're trying to do is quite unique also in Poland, because there are a couple of themed parks in Poland, especially of course we have Energylandia, which is the most famous one, which is definitely an outdoor park, but I think Energylandia is generally a park where it's about fun and spectacle. Then as a counter you have the Mayaland parks, which is also indoor, but what we try to do with Mandoria is to create less of a space that is like a big overview where you have a bunch of attractions, and that's the main thing to do. We try to really create kind of like what you see in the whole layout and in the decorations. It's a bit like an old little city with nice squares, little streets, a lot of seating. So I think in general what we want to offer people is that they come in, they might even be a bit surprised of what they see, and that they just forget about the time and they just spend their time here longer than they even expected. And in some way we have to even educate the Polish people about that a bit, because I don't think they really know how it works. They're probably used to indoor play areas and stuff like that, like indoor climbing, and then it is about 1.5 to 2 hours of joy, and then they walk out the door again. And what we try to show to the people in Poland is that you can just walk in here and leave at night, and you just had your dinner and you had your drinks and the kids are doing their thing. And I think that's especially what Mandoria is strong at, is that the whole family comes in and they basically are not bored. None of them is bored. That's our future dream, basically.